I knew Malcolm long before large white X's on black t-shirts and ball caps became an expression of blackness, long before documentaries and commentaries on his life and achievements were considered socially acceptable, long before he became the subject of high school poets and artists, or the hook backed by a thunderous bass line in a hardcore rapper's creation. I knew him before I knew Marcus wanted us back in Africa, before I knew Harriet was a conductor on that railroad, before I knew Martin dreamed or George could do wondrous things with a peanut. Oh yes, I knew Malcolm. I've heard Malcolm. I heard him say by any means necessary, the ballad of the bullet, and black stores and black neighborhoods for black people with black pride. I heard him scream and rant at a world that wanted him segregated and treated him as if he was less than equal, and also speak in calm, quiet tones of how good things could be. I've heard him speak of segregation, humiliation, race degradation, emasculation, recapitulation, and reconciliation. I've heard him speak of self-respect and self-pride. Oh yes, I've heard Malcolm. I understand Malcolm. In a world surrounded by hate and hopelessness and fear, in a country in a time that would bury him in some Mississippi swamp or hang him from some Alabama tree, or let him be attacked by a badge and a nightstick in a Chicago, New York, LA street and not seem to care about the wrongness of it all, then shouting at the top of his lungs, I will not take this anymore. Oh yes, I understand Malcolm. I remember Malcolm, his brown body neatly clad in a dark suit replete with a tie and collared shirt, his voice strong and his reasoning clear. I remember him changing me from colored to Negro to black. I remember him teaching me that anything could make a baby, but only a man could have a wife and children, that assimilation was not necessary nor desired, that pride of my mother, my father, my sister, and my brother was expressed in the way I dressed myself, I carried myself, and I expressed myself. I remember Malcolm every time I see a black man guiding his son through life's obstacles, every time I see a black woman with African braids, and every time another black man sights me across a crowded room and gives me that knowing brother nod. I remember Malcolm every time I find the courage to be me. I know. Some say he was a radical. Discarded by Muslims, shunned by so-called moderate blacks, and considered dangerous by whites, he preached that black men must respect black women and raise their children. When others sat, he stood. When others fell silent, he spoke out. Violent? When someone slaps you on both cheeks, what should you do? Yes, I understand Gandhi, and I listen to Martin, but I remember Malcolm.